Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're very excited to have you joining us this morning on a bright and sunny morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Gorgeous.
Xavier, how are you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, couldn't be better.
Couldn't be better. Excited about today's show?
I'm always excited about the show.
I know, we always are.
I'm always excited about life, as you know.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And this is life. This is life at its fullest.
Yeah, this is
People
great life.
Loving what they do and being successful at it and sharing that passion with others. So that's what
right.
we love to highlight. That optimism and that joy here on Today y Mañana on the I Love CVille Network. We love being here on the network. We always appreciate being presented by Emergent Financial Services and being partnering, I should say, with our friends at Castle Hill Cider. It's been definitely good. When it's hot, it's always a good time to go up there because they have that beautiful breeze up by Castle Hill Cider. Yeah, that's
hard
nice,
apple cider. Oh
nice
man, that
apple
comes
cider.
in handy at
And
this
remember
time.
Our favorite sage apple crumble is now a sage apple crumble ice cream. So as if you needed another reason
to have ice cream.
This is, when you have a sage apple crumble ice cream, that gives you that reason. So definitely appreciate them. Appreciate partnering with the Gym CVille. After you've had the ice cream, you can know.
There you are.
Or
before, either way.
Or before, you can improve body, mind, and spirit with our friends Justin and Jean, trainers there at the Gym CVille. Of course, partnering with Aqua CVille Hand Car Wash, with our friends Miguel and Jit at Craddock Serious Insurance, with Johan Torres at GBS Financial Services, and of course, always with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. So we have some great guests lined up today. So get ready for a fantastic show full of energy that we're going to have for you this morning. I say we just jump right into it. But
absolutely.
Feel free
did you tell the folks who's here today?
Oh, well, I'm about to. We're going to be joined shortly by Matt Page, the owner of Life Cycle Organics LLC, as well as by Katherine Nies, a pianist, filmmaker, singer, and collaborative artist here in Charlottesville. So be sure to like and share, ask us any questions, send us any comments. I will read all the good ones, as I always say. And I say we jump right into it and welcome as our first guest this morning, Matt Page. He is the owner of Life Cycle Organics LLC. Matt, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Thanks, Xavier. Happy to be here.
No, really appreciate you coming on this morning. Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to start Life Cycle Organics LLC.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm originally from New Hampshire. My wife and I moved down here about 5 years ago to open the LL Bean store over in Stonefield. So I was running outdoor education for LL Bean up in New Hampshire, and we wanted some warmer weather, less snow, and Charlottesville was one of our locations we were opening. So it's been a great fit, so we really love it. Transitioned from retail into craft beer. Went into the pandemic as a beer salesperson for Reason Beer, local Charlottesville brand. And things slowed down a little bit with the pandemic as far as on-prem sales for craft beer. Mm-hmm. So I had a little extra time. Was composting at home, picked up a compost book, and kind of really saw a passion there and wanted to take an active step in combating climate change. So I thought offering there's black bear composting, which services this area. I thought having another type of composting service that's a little bit different could get more people involved with that. So Life Cycle Organics is a curbside composting service. We provide households with a 5-gallon bucket. They fill it up with food waste during the week. We come by on their collection day, swap it out with a clean bucket.
Oh, wow.
Keeping it super easy. People that are on the fence about composting, some of the negative connotations around it, most of them aren't true, but we want to make sure we can eliminate all of that. So cleaning the bucket, replacing it with something clean, freshly lined, taking all the effort away so you can feel good about what you're doing, not change your lifestyle a whole lot except for having a different little trash can to put your food waste in. And it's been, we're coming up on 2 years in business. We have, a handful of commercial accounts, just under 30 households. So it's been, slow growth, but, it's been a really great project, and hoping to make it a full-time gig, in the next couple of years.
So I'm curious because we have a kind of a vegetable garden, and I do my best in composting as much as I can. Although there's never enough for the vegetable garden, but between the dry leaves and then throughout the year, basically doing the same thing, taking all the scraps of your food and the banana peels, the orange peels, everything, whatever we have, and you just see that become a beautiful. some people don't look it beautiful, but it's just beautiful, compost that you can put into dirt. So tell me, so when you get the food in the bucket, so what's the next process? What do you do next?
Yeah, when we pick it up, we bring it to Panorama Pay Dirt, which is a compost manufacturer in Earlysville. I'm located in Earlysville as well, so they're just a few miles from my home. I bring all the waste to them, so I am just in the sourcing and collecting of, so I'm a waste hauler that is focused on food waste, diversion from landfills and into compost. Panorama then turns it into what is now their commercial compost, so they offer 2 compost varieties. This one uses food waste, certified compostable products as part of its nitrogen source. So yeah, that's where we bring all that. So it keeps it nice and local too. It's nice to have it composted still within Albemarle County.
Absolutely.
Minimizing carbon footprint as far as the hauling of waste. And then returning it almost entirely to local soil too, which is wonderful. So
that's
amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that when you're participating, you're taking your food waste and it's coming back into the, like you said, the local soil. Like happy to grow the trees and the plants and the flowers that you see here in the Albemarle, Charlottesville region.
Yeah, it's still a resource at the point, Once you've finished eating something, whatever's left, that's still a resource. So thinking of it as a resource, we wouldn't want to just throw gas into a landfill, right? We want to use that.
Absolutely.
We don't
Absolutely.
all these things. So it's still a resource. If we can turn it back into compost, you kind of close that loop, close that cycle. As well as a lot of other great benefits too.
Yeah, you don't realize how much, when you're cooking, and my wife's a great cook, she loves to cook. I say she loves to cook coffee, she loves to cook. She's a great cook, so I assume she loves to cook. But it's like, you see in the kitchen, the peppers, the eggplants, the onions, at the end of when she's cooking, there's a big pile. She goes, Xavier, here we are. So yeah, I collect it all, but there's just so much, even on a daily basis. So, this is great. So when they fill up the buckets, are people able to fill up the buckets and it's once a week that you pick it up?
Yeah, we pick it up weekly. We have a couple customers that'll use 2 buckets and some folks that'll get picked up every other week. A full bucket's about 20 pounds of food waste. And then we have larger, regular commercial trash cans as well for some of our restaurants like Brasserie Saison or Beer Run.
I gotcha.
And we do a couple private schools, the Blue Ridge School out in Dyke and Woodbury Forest School in Orange, which are large generators. That's a ton or more a week from them.
Wow.
So,
That's fantastic. Yeah, that also local businesses can take advantage of that and say, all right, rather than me and all my employees, when they're having lunch break or going out, just dumping all that into a trash can, they're able to actually send it to be composted and to be used again. Yeah, and it's really fun too to see when you have it at home and you have your bucket. It's fun to see it throughout the week because, the more vegetables and fruits you're eating, like the healthier you're eating, the more you're cooking at home. Exactly. The more is going into that compost bucket. So it's really empty one week. Oh, we ate out a lot. We didn't have as many fruits or vegetables. It's a fun way to kind of track also your diet and like healthy habits. That we found, my wife and I. So, we've actually started to cook more and more because we love having that full bucket. It even looks beautiful at times. It's got all these different colors in there. It's true. That's true. Exactly. Yeah, it's just, it's been a kind of a cool thing. And compost itself, actually, and you may find this making your own compost, but when you turn that pile and it's become that fresh, that black gold, they call it, that fresh, beautiful soil, it actually releases endorphins and dopamine and all sorts of things in your brain when you bring in that rich soil aroma. So actually working with compost and fresh compost actually has great mental health benefits too. It's amazing to think about all the things we can do instead of looking at something as trash and is this still a resource? How can we utilize it and then see all these wonderful benefits from it? Oh, exactly. No, and the nutrients there are what makes vegetables and plants that are planted with it so much more bountiful. You can't beat tomatoes, eggplants grown in the garden. And a lot of that's because of that compost. And I had no idea that it actually released the... Well, it's funny because, I go out there every single day, right? And it's like, that's where I get my energy. I keep telling these guys, you just got to go to the compost pile. No wonder he loves it so much going out there. You get the sunshine, but it's true. Wildlife around you. It's true. And the issue is like, again, we started in autumn because we collect all the leaves, right? Yeah. And it's just, at the beginning of the year, like early spring, it just feels like it's just taking forever. Oh, this is those leaves, nothing's happening. Then as soon as the weather starts getting a little warmer, because we're having these big tubs, right, where we just keep turning them. And all of a sudden, it's just, you can just see things decomposing. And as you said, it becomes this rich black soil, which you look at and you go,
man, those plants are going to like this stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Now, audience question. So, do you add anything between? I know it says you transport the compost to a company. Is anything added in the process to someone's compost to like help get it there, or once it's there to make it a more fruitful
Yep.
compost?
Yeah. So Panorama, so they're collecting food waste, coffee grounds, compostable products into this one area, and then they will mix that with yard waste. So they bring in a lot of yard waste, a lot of local landscapers, arborists. They bring their truckloads
Exactly.
of stuff. That gets ground up through basically a large wood chipper. They grind it up so it's into smaller pieces. They mix those together to get their right ratio. So compost manufacturers, when you compost in your backyard, there's a compost recipe you're striving for to get that nice balance. You want to get, good aerobic activity. You want oxygen in there. And then all these different microorganisms use the oxygen as fuel, but then they're eating and digesting the products that's in there to create compost. So yeah, Panorama Pay Dirt, the commercial compost uses the food waste, the commercial waste, like I pick up with yard waste, and then they have their Panorama Pay Dirt, which has been their traditional compost. That's a poultry manure is their base for nitrogen there.
Base for nitrogen,
And then they
okay.
mix that with yard waste. So they still have the two separate composts. If folks are worried about, organic concerns would be, having produce that goes in and where it's coming from and things like that. You can still get their traditional Panorama Pay Dirt. It's done in windrows, but the commercial compost is wonderful. It's what I've been using in my garden, and they do that in an aerated static pile, which is super cool. So it forces air into it, so you don't have to turn it as
You don't have to
often, and you
turn
can
it.
hit those temperatures and make compost pretty quick.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
shout out.
fantastic.
That was
Missing.
Mrs. Urpí. Thank you for that question. She sent that
It's a
one
great
in.
question.
Yeah, and thank you, John Blair, for watching this morning. We definitely have some people tuning in this fine morning. So, question, I always love to ask people about the entrepreneurship side. What was it like? Because I know you're CIC grad,
Yes.
so you went through the Community Investment Collaborative Workshop. What was kind of that process like of turning this dream that you had of saying, hey, I want to do this to really help the environment, help the climate, do this as a business? What was it like turning that actually into a small business?
Yeah, overwhelming for sure. Yeah, as you get into it and you start to see all the, becoming an LLC, getting a zoning permit to run a business out of your home, trying to understand how taxes will work for you, going through all those legal things without having a lawyer or somebody. So, trying to learn a lot of that on your own. My wife came across the CIC and saw their entrepreneur workshop. I believe it's a 16-week program, and it kind of went through a lot of those steps. So we had already started this business, but it was like, we started to realize, wow, there's a lot of stuff to it that we didn't foresee. This is a great class. Let's go through, take these steps, listen to other people that have done it, and be able to pick up lots of little nuggets to help push forward. And then I think the best part about the CIC workshop, because you always second guess yourself. You have a struggle one day, and it's just like, should I be doing this? You have that imposter syndrome, those sort of things come up. But then you get into the CIC workshop and you're talking to other entrepreneurs and they're sharing similar experiences and you're like, wow, they already have a wonderful business. Like, I look up to them, I strive to be them. And then they share this story that you're like, oh, I felt like that. Like I have those feelings, and it's like, this is just part of the process. That was the best part about CIC, that networking, that camaraderie, that reassurance that, this is part of the process. You're going to feel like this, but keep pushing forward. Like you will get there. So that's what I love the most and took the most from that workshop, I think.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I was talking to Matt. I said, that's the beauty when you in this particular workshop. I think is that you get to meet so many different people, so many different, and everybody's good at different things. Some people are very good at marketing, some people are very good at finances, and whatever it may be. You sit there and somebody says, well, this is what you have to think about, or this is how I did it, and you sit there and go, never thought of that. I mean, that's just a great idea for my business. So I think that's. From what I hear, for everybody that goes to 3IC, I think that networking and being able to talk to people that are in the same boat, but maybe have already gone over that obstacle, is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, same here. And it's funny because I think the challenge of entrepreneurship, of course, is that you have to wear so many hats, right? You have to be, as a small business owner, you have to be the marketer, the logistics person, especially early on, sometimes even the accountant and so forth. And so there's a lot, the lawyer. And so there's a lot that you have to, a lot of hats you wear. So it's awesome to be able to encounter other people who have a strength in that area and say, all right, here's how they did it. Here's what I can sort of take away from that. And you put it all together, and now you've got your entrepreneurial journey going there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So would you say have been some of the challenges, but also like opportunities you've encountered being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think getting out in the community and using it as a vehicle to, I mean, it's fun. This is a business I want to grow, so now I can invest time in doing positive things for the world around me, the environment, and it becomes less of a hobby, and it's, I have to do this. It's becoming a livelihood. So I think that's been a big opportunity that's kind of come from it, is being able to invest more time into reaching out and talking to folks, whether at restaurants or meeting folks at a farmer's market, and they're like, I've always wondered about composting, we'll give it a try, your first 30 days is free, and everybody loves it after that. And it's just, I think that's been my biggest the opportunity that's come to me as an entrepreneur, is just with this particular business feeding into a passion of mine, and be able to make it something that I can invest full time into.
Absolutely, yeah. So when people sign up, what's the process like? So like people are like, I want to do this sounds fantastic. What's it sort of like to begin?
Yeah, they check out our website, lifecycleorganics.com, go to the residential sign up if we're talking about a household, fill out a couple questions, but we're going to drop off a bucket on a day that works best for them in a spot that they would like, and then we will send them an email, let them know, hey, this is your collection date or day of the week based on where you live. We ask them where do they want us to pick up the bucket from, so they don't need to put it at the end of their driveway. We have folks that just put it outside their door. We grab it from wherever, so it's super easy. Place it right outside.
That's
don't
wonderful.
even have to go too far outside
Right,
if you want.
exactly.
And then we'll come by on that collection day, swap it out with a nice clean bucket, freshly lined, and then they start all over again for the next week. They do get a 5-gallon bucket full of finished compost twice a year as well. So we try to drop that off in the springtime when you're getting your garden started, and then as well in the fall when you're kind of putting your garden to bed. 2 good times to kind of get those microbes and nitrogen-rich soil, all that back into your garden or house plants even. You can make compost teas if you want to, fertilize. It's not really fertilizer, but if you want to put a big dose of microbes into your lawn and create better soil for your lawn too, you can make compost teas, which is a whole nother really cool thing. But
that is
Yeah,
really
I've seen that. I've seen that.
You've seen that?
Yeah.
Well, I also seen the big vats that have the little, they have, I guess, a little spout on the side where, that juice comes out and it's a tea,
Yep.
Originally, I thought it was a tea. I said, no, I'm supposed to drink that stuff?
Right.
Then I read up on it. I said, thank goodness.
Yeah, I was about to
Because I
say,
might have tried it. I said, man, this stuff don't taste too
doesn't
good.
sound particularly.
yeah, I wasn't sure about it when I first heard about it. I thought it was a new like kombucha kind of.
Yeah.
Get the good microbiome going.
Exactly. I feel if it's good for the vegetables and plants, it's got to be good for me.
Good for you too. That's fantastic. A big shout out. Thank you, Harvey Mayorga, for watching this morning. Thank you, Erin E. King, for watching, joining the show. What I love is also, I love that idea that twice a year you kind of receive the fruit,
Right,
in
exactly.
essence, of
your
the
labor,
composting that you've
yeah.
been doing. I mean, all year you've been putting the stuff in the bucket. You've been seeing it go out. You kind of know where it goes from having watched the show and listened today. You know where it's going and what's happening to it. But then twice a year, it's like, all right, here you go.
Yeah.
This is what it actually looks like. This is what your effort has created.
Yeah, absolutely. There's your reward right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is amazing the transition, the transformation of that food, and obviously in this case where they grind up all the trees and stumps and leaves, whatever it is. It is amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
It really does, and it makes, we can definitely attest, it makes the vegetables and the gardens and the flowers just so much more bountiful
Yeah, absolutely.
to have that. So to know that you're, I mean, it's helping you both help the environment, but also it's giving back to the local area, so that you can actually see and taste the beauty of participating in this
absolutely.
and working with Life Cycle Organics.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, I mean, Matt, it's been such a pleasure. Before I let you go, just remind people once again, where can people get in touch with you and reach out?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, Life Cycle Organics. Facebook, we're Life Cycle Organics LLC. Everything that we post on both is the same, so Instagram's where I'm a little bit more active. And then lifecycleorganics.com. Check out the website. You can sign up there. Feel free to shoot us a message on Instagram, call us, shoot us an email. We're happy to answer any questions about composting. And your first 30 days is free for a household.
Fantastic.
So we want people to try it and fall in love with it.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well,
Matt,
thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Matt,
for
thank you so
joining us
much.
this morning.
This
It's been
is,
an absolute
great
pleasure.
meeting you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
learning
you.
experience, another learning experience. Thank you so much. Yeah.
LifeCycleOrganics.com, Life Cycle Organics
Yeah.
LLC on Facebook.
That's good. And like for example, New York City, people are forced to do that now, right? In other words, in the sense
Well,
that
recycling wise, I think.
recycling in the sense of you got to recycle your food, you got to recycle, obviously plastics and paper products and et cetera. And but what's nice here is that it's always nicer when you just know where it's going locally, and at the end of the day, it's something that they're giving back to you. So twice a year, as he said, you get 2 buckets of compost, and I guarantee you put your hands in there, and you can put gloves, in case you don't like that stuff on your hands. But you put your hands in there, you just feel nature, you just feel that dirt, and you just know it's going to be good for your plants, for your
like
vegetables,
you said, you just
whatever.
have to smell it and eat it, the dopamine.
Well, I'm not sure you like that smell too much.
But I'll take the dopamine hit. And be like, alrighty. That's no wonder. I was going to joke. No wonder we see you out there all the time. We're watching from the window.
Sniffing the compost? Is that what you're trying to say?
The compost,
Okay.
but more like, why is it Xavier always out there turning that compost thing? What's so much fun about it? But now we know. So this is your daily feel good. You're like,
Absolutely.
I feel great.
Builds the muscles, right?
Yeah.
And the endorphins or whatever they call that stuff, yeah.
There you go. So we really do definitely encourage people. It's always fantastic to see local businesses. So many of our entrepreneurs, right, that come on, that out of a passion for something, produce what is a business. Which now, because not only, we talk. In this particular case, literally, you're putting the compost in, Matt's taking it, it's getting transformed.
Right.
But also, even just the business itself, right? You're paying Matt, right, to help you with this. And his money is going back into the local community.
That's
it's
correct.
not being sent far away to some recycling company in Canada or who knows where, right? It's coming back into the local community, and that's really part of the beauty of the small business owner.
And it's a service that wasn't there in the first place, right? In other words, the idea that people can do this on their own now, just, it's so easy, right? You got the food scraps, basically from vegetables and fruits, et cetera. Put it in a bucket, and once a week they come pick it up, right? So it's not a lot of work, and you just feel good about yourself. You're doing the right thing, and, Matt's really that person right in the middle, making it so much easier for you to do that. Yeah.
Exactly. And before we switch guests, a little compliment from Matt came in. De La Task says, "What an awesome show! Great job, Life Cycle Organics LLC and Matt Page." So definitely getting some props here on the show for that. And from one very passionate entrepreneur to another. We are very excited to welcome to the show this morning Katherine Nies. She is from the music studio of Katherine Nies, but she is a pianist, filmmaker, singer, and collaborative artist here in Charlottesville. Katherine, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good morning. Good morning. There's got to be a little talent there, right? Just a little.
So for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you first became interested in music and the arts and so forth.
Oh gosh, I've always loved music. I can't imagine a time in my life when I didn't.
Right.
And I think I've always been attracted to storytelling the most. So as a kid, with my friends, I would always be gathering up the kids in my neighborhood to put on a play or put on some sort of musical. And for me, storytelling is the way that we can connect with each other, develop empathy, and also connect better with ourselves. So that way we know who we are and where we're going. And so I think music has just been my passion for as long as I can remember. And the piano was like the appendage that was allowing me to be able to express myself. So, yeah, I've always loved
I should definitely comprehend that. I think it was Nick would correct me if I'm wrong here. Beethoven said that the piano was like a mini orchestra or something like that.
Yeah,
but,
it really is.
Well, and I think it was, and Nick can correct me if I'm wrong on this, all right? It's funny how Nick's got all this information in his head, and I only grab a little bit of it. But I think it was Mahler said that something about, what you can't say in words, you say it in music. Express in music.
Yes.
Did I get that right? All right.
There we go. Okay.
100 on my
right.
test.
He got an A+
All
on that
right. Little
one.
gold star on there.
Absolutely. So you began to be interested in the piano music, and what sort of led you to? What are some of the things that you do now that people can work with you on? I know you have many collaborations that you do here in Charlottesville.
Yeah. So I I think the first thing was I was able to come to Charlottesville and form my own music studio. I really wanted to create a space for young musicians, people of all ages and backgrounds to come together, figure out what their unique qualities are, and then develop them and then become better collaborators, become better performers, and also just enjoy themselves while they're challenging themselves. So I wanted to create a studio environment like that. And I have about 30 right now that I see each week. My youngest is 6, and my oldest is 86.
Wow.
And we have a blast. And I was blown away by how much work we were able to get done during the pandemic. We even put together an album. So you can check out our album on SoundCloud. It was amazing to see these young artists and people come together to figure out what styles they liked the most, and how they wanted to create their own music, and then the satisfaction they got when they were able to see, I can compose. People who were really shy to sit down and compose at the piano were like making amazing pieces of music. So that was really exciting to me.
I love that you've added the composition piece. I think a lot of times when people in America, when you think of sending your kids or to learn music, it's usually just focused on repertoire. It's like, all right, I want my kid to learn to play the piano. I want my kid to learn how to play the violin, and they end up playing pieces that were written by others. But I love the idea that you're sort of also encouraging that creativity of saying, oh, you can also write you don't have to sit and say, well, I'm not Beethoven, so I won't even bother writing piano pieces. Like, you can still compose and write beautiful music.
Yes, there is an artist in all of us, and so it was my job. I felt like it was my job to get my students comfortable enough to explore what they are capable of doing, and that's just the best feeling when you see them just so excited about something that they didn't know they could do, and they do it. And it takes a lot of courage and bravery, so I'm always astonished and really proud of them and all the work they do. So
that's fantastic.
If you don't mind me asking you, so what is the 86-year-old, like, what was he interested in? It's just wonderful to see somebody,
like, she's a badass. She loves all sorts of different types of repertoire, and like one of the things I was most excited to see was how open this person was to exploring not just her favorites, but pieces that made her feel uncomfortable. You know, she was willing to go down the route, explore, challenge herself. So I think that growth mindset,
that's wonderful,
it was really inspiring to me.
I'm just thinking, because, I mean, it's great to have, 86 years old and to still have that passion of doing something new, creative, or just, challenging yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
how
great.
good it must be for you. I mean, you hear people all the time say, play Mozart to the babies, let the little kids play the piano because it'll help them math. But I think sometimes we forget, as you age as well, it's equally important to have those passions, to connect with music and the arts, to learn something new. It doesn't just stop because I'm 21 now, no more piano, I'm not going to learn anything. It continues throughout your whole life.
No, and it's also one of the last things to leave. There's scientific studies that show that melody remain, like different melodies from your childhood or pieces that were really meaningful to you, stay with you long after you've forgotten so many other parts of your life. There's a really dear friend of mine who created an organization called Melodies for Memories, which helped people who had lost their memories due to age regain that sense of self and connection through just playing music that they remembered as a child. So melodies are very powerful. Music is very powerful.
Yeah. I remember we had my mother came to visit us a couple of weeks ago, and she's abuelita, and she's 96 years old, and I started singing one because when they were young, my father and my mother used to work together, and they used to sing all the time, right? And so I started to hum a song that she used to sing, and she caught on and started to sing it, and she goes, "Oh, you remember?" I said, "Yeah, I used to sing it all the time." So it's stuck in here, you know what I mean?
What song was it?
Si a tu ventana llega una paloma. I don't want to start singing because everybody's going to laugh.
You gotta sing it.
Another time.
We'll find it. Absolutely. A couple of shout outs. Elizabeth Urpí, thanks for watching this morning. Miles Pierce.
Oh,
thank
hi,
you
Miles.
for watching. Big fan of Miles. another great
Me
artist
too.
here in Charlottesville. So, I mean, definitely want to ask, since we bring up Abuelita, because you are, of course, part Puerto Rican.
I am.
And just as we are, but Xavier here is Cuban. Tell us a little bit about, I mean, because we know, like, the Latino heritage is just so full of music and life and joy and art. So how would you say your Latina heritage sort of influences your art and your music?
Oh, wow. I mean, it goes back to when I was 6 years old, and my mom would be just playing the guitar in the living room with my dad. She loves traditional pieces, and she loves folk music, and so I grew up listening to beautiful, like, Latino folk music.
Right.
And it always told a story, so of course that fed my love of trying to understand the stories behind these songs. So I think that was the spark. And then over time, I connected very deeply with my abuelo, who grew up in Orocovis, Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And he was also an amazing storyteller, and his memory was incredible. So I would just sit with him, have some, cafecito, and he would tell me amazing pieces of his life and what he experienced in the 1920s in Puerto Rico, which is pretty cool. And I
Must
even
have been.
brought my abuela. I don't know if you can see
You
her.
raise it up a little. There we go.
This is
people
my
can-
abuela.
people
So
can
this is
see it.
19.
And this is in Puerto Rico?
This is in Puerto Rico. 1946. She is expecting her first child. So this is my
okay.
Titi Maria Josefa. And her face and just this pose has inspired my own artwork that I like to do with plants. And I make my own prints from materials that I forage in the fields and as I walk. And so if you check out my website, you can see her face in all of these
That's
images.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's
Just,
nice.
yeah, it's just there's something special. I think that there's a special connection. I think between the arts and sort of our heritage. Like
I agree,
it
yeah.
influences us, who we are, the type of art we like to do. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean that Nit and myself love the piano because our grandfather on the mother's side loved the piano, because abuelita loved the piano.
Right.
I think it sort of it influences you. Their love, their passion for it sort of comes down, and just your mother's passion for music sort of
Yes.
passing through to you in the way that you. Would you say it influences the way that you compose or the way that you play?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like, especially the Latina heritage, it's a very collaborative type of experience. We love people, we are energetic,
Exactly.
we are passionate. And so I love to use that, just like my abuelo is, I think, one of the most fiery people I ever knew. And so anytime I'm feeling a little nervous or shy, I like to challenge myself and be like, no, go forward, just be like abuela. And so when I've collaborated with filmmakers and done work with opera companies and the Charlottesville Ballet, and I always try to keep her spirit going, and it's about enjoying life, right? I feel like the Latino culture just loves life and loves
Absolutely.
to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
And is
Yeah.
very passionate. So I try to keep that spirit in what I do.
That's so true. That's so true. I mean, I had, growing up, I had a lot of friends because I grew up in New York,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of friends that were Puerto Rican, right? And you could just see that they were fiery people.
Mm-hmm.
They loved their music, right? And if I met their families, same thing. I mean, you went to their house. I mean, it was actually, in a way, it was the same thing as the Italian families that I met, and my wife. You went to their house. It's like the minute you walked in, you were family. I mean, it just felt like you were part of the gang.
And you were probably
Yeah.
dancing pretty
Absolutely.
soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
you just, so it's in your blood. It's part of you, right? Because you grew up with it, and that's
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Shout out, thank you, Lily DeRay, also for watching this morning. Got a lot of people tuning in to see this fantastic interview. So I'm curious, because obviously one of the things from taking that passion of being a pianist, an artist, collaborator, and then going to the music studio is you now become in many ways an entrepreneur as well.
Yes.
And I'm curious, what were some of your experience there, sort of taking and saying, hey, I'm going to go out and branch out of myself and begin to sort of teach others in this way?
Oh, wow. Well, I feel like it was definitely a learn as you go, and it's always a learn as you go. I was astounded at just how awesome Charlottesville has been in being able to kind of choose your own adventure and create things. People here are willing and ready to do projects with you and collaborate. So I feel like Charlottesville was very fertile soil to just try something out like this. And definitely a lot of hats. I remember you were saying earlier in the interviews that, you know, you're having to be the logistics coordinator, the billing person, you're the promoter. It was a lot, but I feel like those challenges helped me grow so much. And again, like being in Charlottesville has given me a platform to do that. And so I love how collaborative this town is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that fertile soil, you know, it comes from, right? It's all that compost.
There you go. I mean, all the compost,
you know.
all the endorphins.
No,
I can feel it right here.
But you know, it's true. I mean, there's something about Charlottesville, you know, and it's just, you know, whether it's because also the university has a lot of energy, but the people here, you know, they're embracing, right? And you just see it, and people are willing to accept different cultures. You know, you see the different restaurants in the area, different musics. I mean, it's a great place. It really is.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love this town.
That's fantastic. So what are some collaborations that we can expect to see from you or that you're currently doing?
Well, right now I'm working on my album. It's an EP, and it's called Storms in My Attic, and I'll be releasing it on August 25th. So
coming right up.
So it's coming up. I'm really excited. It's just going to be, I mean, I've had so much fun, like dreaming it up. When I was 12 years old, I would go up into my parents' attic and get that 1980s boombox in there, which would never die. Like 1980s equipment just stays strong forever.
Yep.
So I would use that, and then any instruments I could find, the old electric keyboard, and I would just be up there. Anytime there was a storm, I would try to capture it, and I would just make crazy music. And so I thought, why not try something like that? And it'll be Storms in My Attic. So that's coming out August 25th.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great story.
I have also felt very honored to collaborate with Ix Art Park. You can check out this collaboration that I did with Ix and Charlottesville Ballet. It's called Dancing Through the Looking Glass. And you can see me and Cassidy Burke, who's this beautiful dancer. We're at the Looking Glass in there and just playing around, enjoying that gorgeous, magical space. And it was filmed during the height of the pandemic, so it was when a lot of us were just dying to collaborate and do something, and it was a great way to kind of bring the community back together again.
I mean, you can watch it, you can probably feel the joy of being out and collaborating.
Oh, it was so good for the soul. So please do check that out. You can go to I think it's on the Ix YouTube channel and also the Charlottesville Ballet channel as well. So that was a very meaningful project for me to be part of.
That's fantastic. Before we let you go, I always got to ask, so what's the best way people can find you, get in touch with you, and in this case also where the best places to find your upcoming EP album?
Yes, follow me on Instagram. I will have all the updates about all my shenanigans on there. And then you can also check out my website, KatherineNies.com, and you'll be able to see my students album on there, check out information about how I teach, a little bit more about me, and also my interviews and other collaborations I've done.
And then for the EP as well, just keep track on
on Instagram. I will have a little shout out when it's ready.
Fantastic.
That's great. That's great.
Katherine, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's
It's
been
been
an absolute
wonderful.
pleasure. To love the passion and the energy, which is why we enjoy doing this show so much.
Thank you so much.
And good luck with Storms in the Attic. I mean, that's just
Thank
that's
you.
a great title. It really
It
is.
is a great title.
But it's a great
As a
story. 'cause
writer,
it connects,
I love that title.
It connects, you know, your childhood and what you were doing, right, to something you're doing now. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and we also have like storms happening up here too.
That's
like,
true.
So
Good ones, bad
ones, a little bit of everything.
I think every thunderstorm is a different if you close your eyes and listen to it.
Yeah. Well, I love thunderstorms. I just don't like when they
I
knock
love
down trees. but-
thunderstorms. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Katherine, for joining us.
Thank you, Katherine. Thank you.
And then
Wonderful.
you can find KatherineNies.com. That is spelled, Nies is spelled Nies.
N-I-E-S,
so
yeah.
Katherine with
Yeah.
a K, Nies.com. And you can check out so much, all the partnerships, collaborations she does, and reach out to her in her studio.
No, this has been great. It's nice to have entrepreneurs in here always, right? And listen to their story, learn about them, learn about what they do. And again, you always see the passion in what they do, and that's what warms the heart, right?
And it truly is. It truly is. And it really is one of the beauties, like you mentioned, about Charlottesville. One of the reasons we love it so much. One of the reasons we're on the I Love CVille Network is just, as we've seen with Forward Adelante, right? Just the joy that Charlottesville and the people in Charlottesville have for experiencing new cultures and welcoming you.
Yes.
I mean, we came here, what,
2008?
2008, so 14 years ago.
Yeah.
14 years ago. And just the welcoming nature is like, oh, you're Cuban, that's awesome. We didn't get connected with Forward Adelante. So many people come to events. Keep your eyes peeled for future Forward Adelante event.
Looking forward to that.
There will be one at the end of August.
Okay.
Collaboration event with Forward Adelante. So you will be seeing that if you're not subscribed to the.
Do you know what day that is yet?
August 31st.
August 31st. Okay.
August 31st at Castle Hill. That's where that will be. So you can check
So we can have some of that ice cream.
Exactly. So you can check out, if you go to, very easy, I believe, if you go to, let me double check it here. If you go to forwardadelante.org.
Okay.
Right? You can sign up for our newsletter, and then you keep your eyes peeled on our newsletter, because you'll get some news very shortly with how to sign up for that event. It's coming on. Free event. For Adelante, but just the welcoming nature that so many people would come who weren't even Latino. I mean, that's the beauty. That's part of the beautiful part,
it was
right?
amazing.
Like
exactly.
we would do a Connect with Latinos event, and you look around, it's like half the people here aren't even Latino, just want to connect with Latinos, and it's like, this is fantastic.
I know, because I would speak Spanish to them, and then they'll look at me as like, what's he saying?
It's like, I love him, but I don't know what he's saying. So just love that aspect of Charlottesville, and just how they embrace that, how they embrace new businesses like Max and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we definitely want to be a part of this. We want to help the environment. We want to support local business owners. We want to, when you join a CIC work group, the way it's the same, it's true, the story that we hear, one of the most consistent themes about the CIC work group is how willing everyone is to help each other out.
Yeah.
People don't go there, the entrepreneurs, and say, I just want to learn how to, get my license, get my zoning, and I really don't want to talk to anybody else and move on. It's like, no, I want to help the others in my work group. I want to help others in the class. I want to collaborate with them. It's just a beautiful atmosphere of local business that we have here in Charlottesville.
It's a wonderful place.
It is something to be appreciated.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Something to be appreciated. Shout out, thank you, Bruce Penner, for watching the show this morning. Thank you, Chrissy Muniz, another local small business owner. Okay. We had her on with the silent disco.
Oh yes, I remember that. I remember the little lights and
So thanks for joining us this morning. Just always appreciate the audience asking questions, commenting, even just liking and sharing, just to let us know you're watching and supporting the entrepreneurs that we have.
Exactly, that's the most important thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I think it's a great venue for all these young entrepreneurs, and to come here and tell us a little bit about their story, what they're doing, how they got there. They're always great stories.
Yeah. It absolutely is. Absolutely is. And we'll have some more great stories joining us next week. We're going to be joined first by Lenita Richardson Barnes. She owns Fire and Ice Boot Shop here in Charlotte. I think it's in Charlottesville, but it's in the local area. Fire and Ice Boot Shop. Lenita Richardson Barnes, another CIC grad, so we'll hear her story, how she started that, as well as we're going to have on Michael Monroy from Libre. So we had on a few weeks ago from the Libre Institute. We had on our friend Joshua, but now we're going to have on from Libre, which is more of a lot of times the think tank behind Latino initiatives and Latinos in business, and how Latinos can learn more about the economy, how it works, tips, tricks, things that they can keep in mind, resources for Latinos and Latino entrepreneurs here in Virginia. So he's going to be coming on from Libre to talk to us.
Terrific.
So that will be fantastic. So we'll be continuing. We've been on a roll with Latino entrepreneurship as well as
that's good.
Small business ownership in general.
Anybody you can bring in that really has a story to tell, and especially the Latino community, if we can help them out in any way, that's fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah. By the way, I did want to say a couple of things.
Absolutely. What do you got?
On the economy.
What do you got for us on our finance end for this week?
Great stuff that's going on. Well, no, and I know you and Jerry spoke about this on Tuesday, which is always good because you have great insights. But there's this huge controversy that we're reading constantly as to whether we're in a recession, not in a recession, right? And the issue isn't so much whether we are in a recession, whether the 2 quarters, negative quarters, define a recession or not, right? I mean, the fact that you have 2 negative quarters is not a positive indication of anything, right? So you can say, you're not in a recession, but I'm telling you that the economy is not doing well, right? So there are 3 things that are really concerning me, right, about the economy that, and maybe things will turn around, but it's hard to say. One is, if you look at the yield curve, right, and again, this is interest rates between, the 3-month Treasury bill and the 30-year U.S. Treasury bond. If you look at the yield curve between the 2-year and the 10-year, right, it's inverted. That means that the 2-year is yielding more, giving you more interest than the 10-year. You go back in history, and every single recession, right, basically had an inverted yield curve. So we're seeing an inverted yield curve. So we had 2 negative quarters, and we have an inverted yield curve. Again, another sign that maybe we are in a recession. Maybe, we may get out of it quickly, but we're definitely in a situation where the economy is slowing down.
Yeah,
right?
that is important to keep in mind. I mean, there have been quick recessions.
Yes.
There the famous 1920 Depression, not the Great Depression,
Right.
but the one 10 years earlier.
Exactly.
Depression, 25% unemployment. That only lasted a year.
Yeah.
It was 12 months. It was over.
Absolutely. And again, this is, we're not seeing that type of unemployment situation here, right? But the issue is we're seeing
unfortunately, was not encouraging.
it was not encouraging, and that was going to be my next point. It wasn't encouraging. The other thing that really is a challenge is inventories. As we know, inventories have been going up dramatically. Now, the question is, were people, because of the fact that we have so much trouble bringing in because of the chain supply challenges that we've had, the people in stores say, we just got to bring in more because, if demand is there, we got to make sure we meet demand, right? Or is inventory truly slowing, getting to the point where people are just not buying? It's like, what do I do with all this, right?
Consumer spending,
Exactly.
consumer spending in a high inflation environment can appear to go up because things cost more, even if the number of items, the volume is down. So that's the challenge sometimes with consumer spending numbers. That people spent a bunch of money in the last quarter. Yes, but did they spend that money on the same number of things,
Right.
or did they actually buy less goods?
Buy less
because
goods.
everything was 10% more expensive.
And as you and Jerry said, right? I mean, you look at credit card debt; it's gone up about 13%. So are people buying more with their credit card, right? And that's not good overall.
Pay their bills. Pay their bills.
Exactly, paying their bills, right? So is that what they're doing? Because if you're paying your bills with a credit card, you're in dire situation because those interest rates on that credit card is north of 17%. So that's going to hurt you a lot more going forward. So, and the third thing was oil prices, right? It's when you see oil prices drop, they got to drop for one or two reasons. Either basically you have a situation where the supply is coming online, you got more supply than demand, and we are not seeing that.
Yeah.
I mean, even Saudi Arabia, what they promote is like nothing, right? I mean, it's a drop in the bucket, right? So why are oil prices going down? Well, obviously there's two reasons. One is, yes, we released our oil reserves, which sooner or later we're going to run out of, right? And two, the economy is slowing down, right? So basically, if you are using less gasoline, using less energy, demand is down, oil prices go down. Now, when oil prices go down, that's not necessarily positive for the stock market, if you look at historically. So there's just a lot going on here that basically tells you that the economy in the U.S. right now and around the globe is not in good shape, right? Whether it will be a continued recession, whether this recession is going to be a deep recession, we don't really know, right? But with inflation as high as it is, and I know you and I believe that inflation is still high. We're not convinced it's not. Yeah, we're not convinced it's peaked, and we're not convinced it's going to come down quickly, right? So if that's the case, the consumer is still going to be in a lot of, it's going to be challenged, right? To be able to have that discretionary spending that you need in order to keep this economy going, right? So kind of the warning is, don't get excited, don't get nervous, but at the same time, people are telling you it's not a recession, they're lying. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, they're lying. I mean, whether you take it technically saying 2 quarters are negative and therefore it's a recession.
The technical definition is a post definition. In other words,
yes.
The technical definition is a tautology because a the technical definition of a recession is that the Bureau, the BLS or the BEA
yeah.
declares it to be a recession. Well, that's kind of circular because basically saying, well, yeah, if 3 years from now this government agency says it was a recession, then it was a recession.
Yeah,
but I think historically most people know this is, and then to remember with negative GDP, negative GDP isn't the economy slowing down, it's the economy shrinking.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's different than inflation is prices, the price level increasing, right? Negative GDP is not that the economy is like, oh, well, it's just not growing as fast. That means it's not growing at all. It's shrinking.
Exactly.
The negative number is shrinking. Less than 1 is growing slowly. 0.4, but at a minus 0.9 is shrinking.
Right.
So that's not a slowdown, that's a shrinking economy. And we say this not to like depress people.
No.
You know what I mean? Because we tend to be, positive people ourselves, but to make sure people are aware. Like you need to be making decisions on the basis of facts on the ground. So if you're making decisions saying, well, yeah, this is just a temporary slowdown, jobs are
they're
great.
telling us not a recession. I don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. I don't have
no.
to change anything.
Yeah.
I can go ahead and continue using my 401k to fund my lifestyle while I wait for that higher paying job in 2 months.
That's never a good idea.
It's never a good idea, but it's an awful idea if that high paying job might not be there in 2 months.
Exactly.
Because you're in recession. So we like to make sure people are well informed on what's going on, that they're not misinformed by claims that, well, no, this isn't the recession, everything's fine, because it's clearly not, right? This way they can make decisions that are appropriate for them. Because you have to, in order to make the right decisions financially, you have to know the risk that you're facing. And so if you're facing the risk of inflation in a booming economy, it's a very different risk than facing the risk of inflation in a recessionary economy.
Yeah, recession or slowing economy.
Or slowing.
I mean, in this case, it's shrinking, but whether it stays slow or not. And the idea is not to scare the consumer, but educate them, right? Make sure they know the facts as they are, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've been no
Same
panic
thing.
people for a long time.
Exactly.
People
Same
never
as
panic.
investors. The idea is not to panic, but just to be informed,
Exactly.
right? And so that you make the right decisions going forward.
Thank you for that. Always good to have your perspective on. Because I know you come with so much, even more data than I can bring.
Well, sometimes I just remember,
you
remember things, and obviously the past and how things have transpired and what happened, and things. Listen, like everything else, there's always the dark side, the negative side, and the positive side, right? And eventually, just like all economies, there's ups and downs. You just have to make sure that you're ready for the downside, and say, fine, don't panic, everything's good, it's going to come out, and eventually it does. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, Heather Hightower, for watching. There's another viewer this morning commenting. So appreciate that. And it's important to remember, I think, just as the last thing, in many depictions of the business cycle. So I know sometimes recession can feel like, oh, it's the end, right? In many depictions of the business cycle, recession is not the end of the business cycle, it's the beginning.
That's right.
Right? Recession, you hit the bottom, then you have expansion, and the end is actually peak.
That's right.
Peak is the end of the business cycle.
That's right.
So don't be nervous, because recession is not the end of the business cycle, it's the beginning.
Exactly.
So there will be positive times ahead.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So appreciate being here with you.
Thank you. This is fun as usual.
As always, we remain inspired by all the
enjoy
great
the guests,
entrepreneurs
enjoy your company
that come on. Always enjoy yours as well. Some great reminder again. Some great guests next week. Lenita Richardson Barnes of Fire and Ice Bookshop, as well as Michael Monroy from Libre. And so always appreciate being here with you on the I Love CVille Network set. Just a big thank you to our presenter, Emergent Financial Services, as well as our partners in Midell and Chit at Craddock Sirius Insurance, Jeff from Aqua CVille Hand Car Wash, our friends at the Gym CVille, Castle Hill Cider, GBS Financial Services, and Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you, Judah, behind the camera, making us all look good, pulling off all the swaps, giving
That's
us
right.
The
We
great
keep them
looks.
busy. We keep them busy.
We do
That's
keep
good.
them busy. We do.
Keep them young. That's keeping them young. There you go.
There we go.
That energy
There we
level.
So definitely appreciate his work. Appreciate Jerry being on set today. You can always
Yeah,
hear
you
him
can
with
always
his
hear in the
great
background.
comments and questions. And Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. And just love being here on the network every Thursday. Love you, our audience, for joining us, for commenting, for sharing, and liking the show. Feel free, as we always say, to send us any entrepreneurs, small business owners you know and love. We are happy to feature them on Today and Mañana and share their story with everyone here in Charlottesville. So thank you so much for watching us this morning. We look forward to seeing you next week. But until that time, as we always say on the show, hasta mañana.
Bravo, guys.
Thank you.